Welcome back everyone to a brand new movie franchise ranking here at Max Talks Movies. We're going to break down DreamWorks animation today. This is part one of a two-part movie franchise ranking series where we're going to rank, I've seen 30 of the 42 DreamWorks animated films. So we're going to break down my bottom 15 on this video, 30 to 16, and then break down 15 to 1 in a video in the next coming days. So it's gonna be a long video, so please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Please like the video, the thumbs up button, it really helps support the channel, and let me know your bottom 15 ranking of DreamWorks animated films. If there are films that I did not mention that are on your bottom tier, let me know. I do want to say first that this is my list. This is a very subjective list. I've been watching a lot of people's lists since the nice guys came out, which is why since the bad guys came out, which is why I'm doing this list. And I know I have completely different tastes. Now, I am a person who grew up with both Pixar and DreamWorks, really when they were starting. So I have a lot of nostalgia for a lot of other films. And there's some films I remember as a kid I didn't like, have rewatched and grown to love. So, but this would be the bottom 15, films that I don't like and getting on the precipice of good. So without further ado, because this is 15 movies, we're going to go right now. So starting at number 30 for me is Home. Now, this is the first movie I can really remember when I was a kid, when I remember not liking a kid's movie. I remember as a kid going to see a lot of bad stuff that I look back on now and say, how did I like that? This is the first time as a kid, I was at the time around 12, 13 years old. When I walked out of the theater, I really did not like this movie. I rewatched it one time, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, just to confirm that I really don't like this movie. It's one of the more forgettable DreamWorks films. We have Jim Parsons and Rihanna about this. It's like a teenage girl and his alien road trip. I found all of the jokes to be way off the mark, and I'm someone who actually likes Jim Parsons, so the humor there wasn't very good. I didn't really buy the chemistry between Jim Parsons and Rihanna in the movie. And then when they were trying to set up the world where O is, which is played by Jim Parsons, it just got this movie is completely reliant on jokes. Even when I was 12 years old, I did not find anything in this movie funny. So I know a lot of people have other movies in the bottom. Home for me was a movie that it was the first kids movie I can ever remember going to a theater and not liking. So it's at number 30. Number 29 for me is B Movie. This is a film that, again, as I told you guys earlier, films that I saw as a kid, I just liked. I remember watching this movie a lot as a kid, which is now sad to say, because this is a really bad movie that has been basically the king of memes. So we want to talk about jazz, like all of this different things with Jerry Seinfeld and Renee Zellweger. When they're in the B world, that's where the movie is kind of cool. The first 15 minutes when Barry has his parents, what do bees do, showing the bees jobs. It's really once Barry leaves the hive and starts in a, no joke, romantic relationship with Vanessa, played by Renee Zellweger, the movie goes too far and the chemistry is not very good, and you don't really buy a bee and a woman like kind of falling in love for each other. It's kind of off-putting now. As a kid, I really enjoyed this film. The more I've grown up, the more I've just not liked this film, and really it's definitely bottom tier DreamWorks animation. Number 28 on the list is another film that's very much memed since the release. And that is another film that I loved as a kid, really don't like now, and that is Shark Tale. This movie that I really loved as a kid. I love Will Smith. This cast is great when you talk about Will Smith and Robert De Niro and Jack Black, again, Renee Zellweger and Angelina Jolie. Ziggy Marley's in a fun role, and Martin Scorsese. Under the Water, and I always liked this movie as a kid and close to loving it. The rest of my family actually still like it. This is adults and kids in my household. I've always loved, our whole family will always love this movie. I'm now the only person who really does not want to watch this movie ever again. I love Will Smith. The humor is not very good. The movie at times can kind of feel all over the place and too much in your face and too colorful at certain times. The dynamic between Oscar, played by Will Smith, and Robert De Niro's character and Lenny, played by Jack Black, doesn't always go well because they make Lenny just way too dumb. The love interests are stereotypical love interests, but now it's weird seeing them in a animated stereotypical form. So I always loved this movie as a kid. The more I've grown up, again, I am about to turn 20 and I'm still technically a kid, but you know what I'm talking about, like 15 years ago, 10 years ago when I was watching the movie multiple times. Again, this movie came out when I was 2. Always loved it, but nowadays, Shark Tale's not for me. Moving to 27, one more disappointing. We're talking about these next 2 films here. First is Shrek the Third, which I do believe is the worst sequel. It's really back and forth between 3 and 4, just because of the high level the first 2 films set out as well. Shrek the Third is just not a good movie. They completely take, and really both these films, Shrek and Fiona, kind of out of their element, once because they're becoming king and queen, but Shrek wants to return to the swamp when he finds out there's another heir to the throne, and that, which is just not very interesting whatsoever, with Rupert Everett voicing again Prince Charming, Prince Arthur, played by Justin Timberlake. It's kind of tired, this story. They really didn't know what to do with these characters after 2, because then Shrek and Fiona are kind of now in this royalty position. Obviously, of course, Shrek doesn't want to be in royalty. He wants to be in the swamp with Donkey, and it's just a plot that was kind of the baseline for the first film. Shrek falls in love with the woman. They have royalty. I mean, it's just rinse and repeat. And while the first film has the spark to it, you can kind of feel the spark kind of burning out of this franchise, really starting with this film. And move on to number 26. And that's why I'm going to talk about Shrek Forever After. Now, a lot of people actually have 3 over 4. I like 4 just slightly over 3 with Walt Dawn voicing Rumpelstiltskin. I find him a bit more of an entertaining villain than the third movie. But once again, it's another bored Shrek with this time he's bored because he has kids, and he goes to far, far away, and it's just not a fun movie. This is where you can really feel the Shrek franchise kind of dying with this film. You really couldn't come back from 4. They completely ran out of gas of why Shrek continues to be grumpy, so likable in the first 2 films. They went from a grumpy ogre to a lovable husband, a lovable friend, all these things. And in 3 and 4, they just wanted to do the same thing over and over again. And it's where the franchise has now. We've not even seen a new Shrek movie, not Puss in Boots, but Shrek movie since 2010, which is crazy because of how widely acclaimed the first 2 films are. But when you look back at animated franchises, sadly, Shrek is just not one of them that gets brought up. DreamWorks has a lot of other franchises that we'll talk about maybe in a little bit in this video and a bit more in obviously the next video. Number 25 for me was Trolls. The first Trolls. I have not seen the sequel to Trolls 2. Did not want to buy that on PVOD because I just did not like the first Trolls. I saw it in theaters. It just feels like they had Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick write a bunch of songs, and they kind of wrote a movie kind of around that. While the songs are fun, you don't care about the story whatsoever. And it feels like the movie just wants to get to its next song as quickly as possible. I am one of the people who like James Corden. Definitely not in this franchise. What probably the most annoying character at least in this film. I have not seen the second one, but really don't like this character. Timberlake's character is fun, but again, it's all feel like each story beat needs to get to a song instead of the song fitting in with the story, which is really should be in musicals. This one just feels like a bunch of pop songs, and they wrote a whole animated movie out of it. Obviously, it worked out for DreamWorks. A lot of people saw the movie. Everyone knows the songs. It got a sequel. A lot of people rented that during the pandemic, but it's just not for me. That's why I have not even tried to check out the new one. In 24th place, I believe, is the most forgettable DreamWorks film of all time, and that is Turbo. I saw this film when it came out, and the next day, I completely forgot about it. I've seen this film 2 times, and I still have no idea what happened in the movie to this day. I just didn't have time to rewatch over 40 films to this ranking. But I've had this ranking in for a long time. Turbo is honestly a forgettable film with a story that you've just seen a billion times. A lonely, of course, not fast snail who dreams of being a race car driver. It is ridiculous. I don't remember any of the characters being memorable. And as I said, there's not a lot to talk about because Turbo, for me, is the most forgettable film in DreamWorks' catalog. Number 23 is The Penguins of Madagascar, the sequel, the only spinoff we've gotten to the Madagascar films. I do think the biggest issue with the film is I do always loved the penguins in the first three films. I just never felt like they kind of needed their own movie. While the group of them are together in the opening 20, 25 minutes, I was kind of getting into it. And then once they go down the complete spy route with the North Wind, trying to stop the villains, it just loses me because the first three films, well, yes, they're ridiculous. Animals are going, it's a story about animals trying to get back to the zoo. In the second film, Alex trying to get back with his people. In the third film, The Circus, this film of the penguins kind of being undercover spies, it just throws me in a loop, and it completely, in a bad way, just doesn't feel like it fits in with the first three Madagascar films. So while the characters are fun, I just feel like it just doesn't feel like these are where these characters should be in their time. Number 2022. Number 22 is The Croods. I still have not seen The Croods in New Age. Again, theaters were not open in my area when the second film came out. Have not seen this second film, but very similar to me to Turbo. It's a very forgettable film. I watched this film again when I was 10 years old. Just nothing memorable to me. It was a fun enough story with a great voice cast with Nick Cage and Ryan Reynolds and Emma Stone. And I remember Ryan Reynolds being a very fun character to watch, and his dynamic with Nick Cage, the daughter, possible boyfriend, and Nick Cage. I thought that was a lot of fun stuff, and the prehistoric element of it, but it feels like other films have kind of touched on this. It tried to be Flintstones, and obviously it does it in a unique way. The animation is very good, but it's just a forgettable film to me. So that's why I have The Croods at number 22. So I'm trying to go quick here. Number 21 is Puss in Boots. Now, we obviously have a sequel coming out later in the year. That's the other DreamWorks film coming out this year. I'm really pumped for the sequel. The trailer really sold me on why this story needs to be told. Got me really interested. The first Puss in Boots I thought had an interesting enough story. Now, compared to Penguins, I did feel like it was cool, and I thought not necessary, I guess, for Puss in Boots to have his own movie. This character is a very, very memorable side character, but you can kind of tell could be on his own missions. And that's where he kind of meets with Salma Hayek's character and Kitty. And then you obviously have the Humpty Dumpty storyline with Zach Galifianakis and kind of the upbringing. You get some backstory. This really does take place before he met Shrek. And I believe he comes in either 2 or 3. And I found it to be a fine movie. I don't think this is a great film, as in it is better than 2 of the Shrek sequels, which is saying a lot. But I find Antonio Banderas as this character is perfect. The chemistry of Salma Hayek is perfect. And actually, I like the Humpty Dumpty storyline. It's just a film that doesn't have any intriguing action set pieces for a character that is so action dependent. So Puss in Boots to me is number 21. We're combing down the final 5 films here as we're heading into the top 20. Number 20 for me is Ants. Now, this is DreamWorks' very first film, which was released in 1998. Of course, the whole thing with this film is, are you on Team Ants or Team A Bug's Life? Well, my whole life, it's never really been a conversation. I've always been Team A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life is always my favorite, one of my underrated Pixar films. I love A Bug's Life. Ants, I think, is okay to good. I do like the fact that it is kind of more mature. It's also one of the shorter animated films, kind of like when Toy Story came out. Toy Story was under 90 minutes, just like Ants. Ants is 83 minutes. So with credits, it's an hour and 23 minutes. So you're quick, you're out. I love Sylvester Stallone in this film. He's really funny. Great voice cast. We talk about Woody Allen's main character, Sharon Stone, Dan Aykroyd, Danny Glover, Gene Hackman, Jennifer Lopez, Christopher Walken with Sylvester Stallone. It's a fun cast. I definitely do not believe the animation has held up whatsoever. And the difference between this, that I don't believe A Bug's Life has also held up in the best way animation wise, but I have tons of nostalgia for A Bug's Life, and I just don't with Ants. And I think if you saw Ants and you were total team Ants, I get it. For me, I just don't have nostalgia with Ants. So I think the film is fun enough, and I actually like the adult themes in it, which makes it kind of a unique animated film for a first film for a studio. I just don't love this film. I'm not even comparing to A Bug's Life. I just don't love this film. Let's keep going, guys. Number 19, let's get into the Madagascar franchise. Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Love this movie as a kid. I saw this movie again when I was 10 years old, 9 years old. Had a blast. The Afro Circus song was a big hit in 2012. I have a lot of nostalgia for this franchise because, spoiler, the other two films are not in the bottom 15. They're in the top 15. Which I'll be talking about in the next video. I just love the idea of them going to the circus. I do think some of the chase scenes with this lieutenant going after our main group, voiced by Frances McDormand, while she was actually good in the voice role, you never buy her as a real threat compared to kind of the threats in the first two films. And sometimes this story can be kind of lost. Instead of the movie just wants to have fun and just do crazy stunts, which is fine, but the movie just feels bland because there's literally no story. They try to set up stuff with a character with a tiger, another tiger, with a tiger who's not been in the circus for a while. It's just kind of meh. It's a blah plot. Clearly, the writers want them to get to the circus. You kind of feel the film rushing to get there with many conveniences. So while there's fun, especially new characters in the film, I just find this to be definitely by far and away the weakest sequel in that weakest film in the trilogy of the Madagascar films. To number 18, this is a film I loved as a kid, as I continue to say. Monsters versus Aliens came out when I was 8 years old. I love to just tell you guys when I saw this film so you know my background. Really fun film with Reese Witherspoon, a great batch of the Alien with Seth Rogen, Will Arnett, the general scene with voiced by Kiefer Sutherland. And that's still a memorable scene of my childhood. It does take me back to my childhood with the opening scene when the general or the president, who's voiced by Stephen Colbert, plays the piano with the creature. Takes me right back to my childhood. Love that scene. But this plot is absolutely ridiculous. Reese Witherspoon turning into this large, I guess, ginormous person. I didn't find the villain that interesting. I just don't think the Reese Witherspoon's character, Ginormica, and the rest of the aliens don't really have great chemistry, which I think is a big problem because they're supposed to be the team up. And the fact that she becomes the leader also doesn't make a lot of sense. But I have a good time with I am way more positive, it seems like, than most people. I like Monsters versus Aliens. I do have a lot of nostalgia for it, as I said, but if you don't, I totally get it. Let me know why in the comment section. But I had fun time with Monsters versus Aliens. We're getting to that fun part. Number 17 is the newest DreamWorks film that they added to the catalog, The Bad Guys. What a pleasant surprise. Beautiful, unique animation that DreamWorks has never done before. Mr. Wolf should be a franchise leading character. I think Bad Guys should be set up for a franchise, especially being number one at the box office. People definitely enjoyed The Bad Guys. I didn't. I like the heist element of it. Yes, you've seen this plot a billion times. Villains turn heroes, but they want to go back to being villains. The in-between line, but Sam Rockwell as Mr. Wolf and Zazie Beetz as Diane Foxington were definitely memorable characters I left the theater wanting to see more of. I wish some of the heist scenes weren't as convenient as they were. I wish they explained what the society was. There is kind of a mixture. It seems like the world is made of most of humans, but the mayor is a fox. And I think the only villains are the animals. So I would like to see the society a bit more. And you could do that in a sequel. But I had a great time with The Bad Guys. And wrapping up this list for today's video is a controversial pick. I know people are going to be killing me in the comment section. That is okay. Kung Fu Panda 2. We're getting to the great tier now, or good to great tier. I'll just say this. I think this is the start of the great tier. I think Kung Fu Panda 2 is a great movie. It's a really good movie. I have so much nostalgia for the first one, which we'll talk about in the next video. But I found this to be one of the, probably in my opinion, yes, it is the most overrated DreamWorks animated film. I never felt that emotional connection to the story like I did in the first film. So much so that I haven't even seen Kung Fu Panda 3. While Gary Oldman as Lord Shen was a for me, okay villain, I never felt his emotional connection or as a threat as compared to Tai Lung in the first film. And at times it can feel a bit redundant, but I love these cast of characters. That's a Poe after the end of the first film is now basically running this group with Shifu now. I just love these group of characters. I love this, the first two films, but as I said, this film just hasn't stuck with me since I saw it when I was 9 years old. It just hasn't stuck with me. Definitely not even close touching the first film. So that is my bottom 15 of DreamWorks animated films, as you can tell, based on me ranking Kung Fu Panda 2 here. We're beginning to go to some great movies coming up. So come back to the channel, probably either Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, the next couple of days. I should have the top 15 DreamWorks animated films to me, which I can't wait to talk to you guys about in my next video. Instead of just complaining, love to do a video just talking to you guys about the positives. But I've been waiting to do this video for such a long time. I grew up with DreamWorks films. I have a passionate ranking. That's why I'm doing this. My upcoming videos tomorrow, my Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent review. Wednesday, Moon Knight spoiler review. So that probably means Thursday, guys. On Thursday, I will have my full, on Thursday, I'll have my full top 15 list for DreamWorks. And then Monday, back to my box office breakdown show. So please subscribe. Let me know your bottom 15 movies. What films did you not like? Are there any films? I'm sure you guys love Kung Fu Panda. 2, are there films on my list on the bottom that are your top 5 or maybe even your favorite DreamWorks films? I'd love to have a fun conversation. This is just my list. I would love to hear yours in the comment section down below. Thank you, guys. Let's keep talking more animated movies. I'm a big animated movie fan. I love this talk. I'll see you guys soon.